Hey guys, Courtney Epps here, and I'm super excited to finally be on the live again. Man, seems like forever and a day ago I was doing a live. So I wanted to share a couple things with you guys. Just with it being a new year and the fact that I have not done a single tax webinar since I think since December the 29th. So not a whole lot has changed this year, but one thing that is big that I'm really excited about, and it's a way to get people back into restaurants, is if you are eating out for business purposes, then now you can actually take a 100% tax deduction instead of a 50% tax deduction, and that's going to happen for the next 2 years. So I'm super ecstatic about that. I'm trying to figure out a way. I want to add, let me edit my name because I want to give you guys all of my information here. So I have a link tree that's going to give you access to me. So in the event that something were to happen yet again with Facebook and I'm not able to speak with you guys, I want to make sure that you have access to me. So there's my link tree. You're right, Tammy. That is exciting. The meal deduction's exciting. For those of y'all that are worried about the new tax increase that's supposed to happen, I don't think you should worry about that. I'm not going into detail on it, but I don't think it's part of the plan, so I don't think you should worry about it. A couple things I want to bring up. So it's tax time, right? And there's a lot going on right now. And, I just got access back on the 18th so that I could do a live again. And it's very hard for me, if I can't do a live, to try to schedule a Zoom for people, especially during tax time, because we have so many returns that we're trying to do. So I want to give you some thoughts for tax time. And I want to make sure that, that you guys are aware, and this is obviously for my clients as well. So the 17th is when we were first able to actually file a personal tax return. So this past week, a couple days ago. And the reason why is because the IRS shuts down. They've shut down so much in the last year, but the IRS shuts down for e-file from like November 16th until the end of January for corporate returns, and then they have to add information into the software, and then we can finally prepare a personal tax return. So if you haven't heard from us, you should have gotten an email from us. You should have gotten a Licio contact from us with the task saying, please upload this information. And, you should also have received, contact information for us to schedule an appointment if you need to talk to us, and to email certain places, because right now we have so many, because the IRS was shut down for so long. We're probably getting anywhere between 20 and 50 letters a week that should have come 6-8 months ago. They're now being bombarded and coming now in the middle of tax season. So I ask that if you are our client, please understand, like, the phones are ringing off the hook. People are emailing, people are texting, people are Facebook messaging, and I couldn't even access that or respond to that for 7 days. So I just want to make sure that you know how to get in contact with us, and I don't want anyone getting upset if they're trying to reach out. I would just love if you got a tax issue, if you got a tax letter, you just need to email tax issues at OTB Tax. We will handle it, and give us a couple days to take care of that. So because there is so much going on. So for those of you that anyone has amended tax returns in the past year, amended tax returns typically took between 12 and 14 weeks, and everything was great. And, we had the paperwork back and the refund back, whatever. Now that has pushed actually more along the lines from 16 to 19 weeks, which is what the IRS is saying. And then the IRS, decided that they were going to shut down from March 1st to August 1st. And although they did send letters for bills, they did not process a single piece of paper. They didn't even open the paper. They didn't open a single letter for 6 months. Now we're dealing with problems that we've sent it. It's certified. and it never got there. Like the USPS we're clicking on the button, we're tracking it, and it was never there. So we have resent, no joke, tax returns 3 different times to try to get something to happen with these returns, because people just don't realize, like, things that have happened in the past year have really destroyed the fact that it takes so long anyway with the IRS. But it's just destroyed our timing. So I want you to know, if you receive a tax letter, don't freak out. Don't, you receive a tax bill. And that's not from us. It may be, you may have another accountant, or you may have done your tax return on your own. Don't necessarily believe that you owe the money that these people send you a bill for. I'll give you an example. My father took some money. We just moved some money from a 401k into an annuity, because back in 2007, I just felt like the economy was not going to do well, and I was worried about it. So I asked him to move the money, and he did. And so we received a check for that money. And he immediately just took that check, signed the back of it, and sent it directly to the annuity company. Well, then he got a bill. Well, it's not a taxable event. He got a bill for almost $35,000. And it took us 1.5 years to get that straight. But we did. It finally took me driving to the IRS office, sitting down and demanding it be fixed. And it was, but many, many times my dad wanted to pay that bill, because he got an IRS bill and he was scared, and he was concerned that they were going to try to take his money, or garnish, or levy, or whatever. And guys, that's what I want you to understand. Like, it's the IRS's job to try to take your money. It's my job to help you keep your money. And it's your job to want to keep your money and to focus on doing nothing more than trying to do what's legally, morally, and ethically right to help you keep more of your hard-earned money. Because, again, the IRS's job is to take your money, is to scare you into believing that you owe something you don't owe. There also, the other issue is that if you ever get in an audit with an auditor, so if your tax return ever goes under audit, they make a percentage of what they collect from you over and above what your tax return said. So they're going to lie to you in any way possible that they can in order to take more of your money so that they get paid more money. So I hope that sinks in for you, because I have people tell me all the time, well, Courtney, I've been told that using business use of your home causes you to be audited. No, it doesn't. Courtney, I've been told that, I can't write off but so much of my travel and so much of my meals because that could cause me to be audited. No, it doesn't. Your expenses have nothing to do with you being audited. It's not even tracked. So I want you to understand that. It's not even tracked. What could cause you to be audited is you have a dramatic increase in gross income or a dramatic decrease in gross income. Let me explain. If you were making $500,000 one year and you drop to $50,000 the next year in gross income, that could trigger an audit. As a business owner, you are more likely to be audited than an individual W-2 employee. And the reason why is because W-2 employees have no tax deductions. And the more money they make, the less that they get to write off in a tax deduction. So if you are a business owner, you're in the right place. Like, this is your first step in order to go after true wealth, is you have to be a business owner. Like, hands down, that you've got to be. Okay. There is no other way for you to get through this world, I don't believe, financially, other than being a business owner, because you cannot have the IRS take 40% of every dollar you make, and then on top of that have cost of living and everything that goes along with that. So if you want to get ahead, the first step is going from being a W-2 employee into a W-2 employee with a home-based business. Part-time, full-time, it doesn't really matter to me. It's irrelevant. So that's the next step, okay? So why do you have to be a business owner, and why do business owners get bigger tax deductions? Well, let me put it to you this way. If business owners didn't get massive tax deductions by being business owners, there would be no employees. So for that reason, we don't pay the same amount of taxes. And the reason why is because we're spending money and pushing it back into the economy. See, what most people don't comprehend, there's three ways to save money in taxes. There's three, or let me step back. There's three major ways that the IRS gets money, okay? One is you hire employees and you pay those employees, and obviously they're going to pay taxes. Two, another thing, and kind of combined with that, is you're putting money back into the economy. So you go out and buy a new car. Well, somebody's paying taxes on that, so you get a tax deduction for it. You're continuing the economy running, right? And then that income pushes off on the car dealer, and then they're paying taxes on that money instead of it sitting in your bank account. Then you could just send money to the IRS if you wanted to do that. I don't necessarily think that's the best way. And then you have something called a conservation easement. Now, for those of you, if you're not making more than about $400,000 a year, a conservation easement is not beneficial. But if you are making more than $400,000 a year net income, a conservation easement is nothing more than buying or investing in land that is given to the government. And when you do that, land is worth more than $1 today, right? 20 years from now, that land's going to be worth more than what it's worth today. So you get a massive benefit. You actually get the benefit of what it would be worth in 20 years, and you pay for that land today. And so you don't have to go out and buy land to give it to the government. There are programs that I can connect you with and allow you to do that. And that's one of the things that I did last year is I put in $70,000 into a conservation easement. That turned into a $350,000 tax deduction, and that wiped out probably $160,000 in taxes. So yes, I paid $70,000 for it, but that saved me $90,000 in taxes. So there's so many things that you guys can do as you continue to become business owners. So the first step, right, is to become a business owner. When you become a business owner, now you get access to tax deductions that you didn't have before. But it's not like you're spending more money. You're just now taking the money that you were spending, and those living expenses now get redirected into business expenses. So what are living expenses or business expenses am I talking about that we can write off now? Well, you've got meals. That is a huge deal. And meals now this year for the next 2 years is 100%. Which is what I said earlier. So that's a way to get restaurants back in business, right? And so give 100% tax deduction on that. It's no longer 50%. And meals can include you having events at your home, cooking out, or catering in. And you could do trainings. You could meet with prospects. You could host events like with your team. You could do employee gatherings. So all of that is included. And then you have so buying land, Juliana, land is not a depreciable, meaning that you can't depreciate land. What I'm saying is this is a conservation easement. It's totally different. You're buying land and giving it to the government. So no, you cannot typically buy land and take that as a tax deduction. If you did something to the land, like say it was a farm and you upfitted it, or you dug a well or something like that, those will be tax deductible, but you cannot write off land. A conservation easement is something totally different. That's buying land, giving it to the government. I don't suggest that you buy the land and give it to the government and do all the appraisals. I suggest you get into a program that does it, okay? Because it's harder to do the other way. So going back, living expenses. So we have meals, we have mileage, or actual expenses of your vehicle. So what are actual expenses of a vehicle? Insurance, property taxes. You have your gas, you have oil changes, you have insurance, interest. You have all of these things, plus you can actually depreciate the car. Or you can take advantage of the standard mileage rate. This year it's 57 cents a mile. It's gone down a little bit. So I want you to understand this. If you take mileage and you decide that you were better off to depreciate the vehicle and take actual expenses, you can switch to there. Okay, so you can go from mileage to actual expenses. And if you have claimed that in the past incorrectly, and you feel that that could help you massively, and you had a business in those years, we can go back and amend those tax returns and get you that money back. So that's a big win. We've seen that, I mean, massively with clients. Now, you can switch from mileage to actual expenses, but you cannot go from actual expenses back to mileage. So I just want to be very clear on that. So we've got mileage or actual expense of vehicles. We have travel. Travel can include you going to a continuing education event. It could be you going to meet a prospect, you going to meet a client, you going to meet an upline, downline, sideline. It doesn't matter as long as it's business related. If you're in the real estate world, you want to go look at a piece of property, that's a tax deduction, right? So I want you to understand what I have done is, and I mean, it's not like I'm not brilliant, okay? What I have done is figured out a way to combine my profit, my passion, and my personal life together. And so when you've done that and you've mastered that, then almost everything that you do can be a tax deduction. Okay, so for those of you that like to keep your business and your personal life separate, you are losing out. You're missing out on so many expenses because you're doing that. And for me, it's all about finding ways to keep more of your hard-earned money. So TurboTax, and I don't know, I can't see everyone's names on here, but I do see I've been filing on TurboTax as a business. Should I be using a CPA instead? And can you explain why? One, depending on the income that you make with TurboTax, they limit the expenses that you have and the ability that you have to write them off. Two, no, I don't suggest a CPA. I'm not a CPA. I'm an enrolled agent. I have the highest credential that the IRS offers. A CPA is a state board, has nothing to do with the IRS at all. And it doesn't mean that someone actually knows what they're doing as far as taxes. And I mean, I have proven that over and over and over and over again. And actually I've been an accountant for 19 years. So my whole purpose is to find money, is not to prepare taxes. So the difference in TurboTax is when you're doing it yourself, you have no knowledge of what you can and can't write off. And if you get audited, it's on you, and you're going to deal with the auditor directly, and you're going to lose, you're going to fail massively, or you're going to pay someone $250 to $350 an hour to handle that audit. That's one. Two, if you hire someone, they need to have knowledge. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we do tax returns all over this country in every single state, is because there's not a lot of people that have the knowledge and the understanding and are focused on strategy. There's a lot of people that can prepare a tax return for you, but there's not a lot of people that can prepare a tax return for you and it be in the best interest of you. So that is my focus. So TurboTax, I did not know this until this past year, because someone actually used TurboTax and they inputted their information in their tax return. Mine was totally different. And I've done that time and time again, but I didn't know why. And the reason why is because they limit the amount of expenses that you actually, even though you're putting it into the software, they're limiting it for you. Yes, I do tax returns in every state. And yes, we are hiring new clients. We're taking on new clients. So I've got a link tree here that you can access. There's a tax strategy session. You don't have to hire us to have a conversation with us about strategy either. That is one thing. My focus is strategy. My focus is to help you find money. It is not to do a consultation with you and take you as a client. If you want to be our client, that's great. We'd love to have you. If you don't want to be our client, that's fine. If you want just the information. So if you click on that link tree or go to that link tree, you can book a time on our calendar to book a tax strategy session. So do I recommend someone in Ohio? Yes, I recommend us. I don't recommend anyone else to do taxes. And here's why, guys. I spend 14, 16 hours a day of my life outside of tax season. And I have 3 staff members who do tax strategy sessions every 30 minutes of the day. And all day long, every single day, 90% of those clients are overpaying in taxes. And it's not because of anything more than the tax preparer who is a tax preparer, right? You got to understand that. You pay to have your taxes prepared. You don't pay someone to have your taxes, a tax strategy session to help you understand how can I keep more of my hard-earned money. So that's one thing we actually added into our tax returns this year on the back end. We're literally doing another tax strategy session on the back end, and we're telling you what else you could write off for this year, for 2020, and telling you what you need to do moving forward. Because it's not just about expenses. It's about how you're set up. What structures your business? Do you have an LLC? Are you treating that LLC as an S corporation for tax purposes? And you should be if you're making more than $12,000 a year net income. So a lot of this stuff, like I can't put it all into one conversation over the phone, like me having a conversation with you guys, because there's so much that you can do. But what we do with those tax strategy sessions is we are looking at your prior year tax returns. We're telling you what you should have done, what structure you should have set up, telling you if we can go back and get you money, because unless we could get back three to four times, we're not going to go backwards, because just not going to do it. But from there, we're looking at deductions, we're looking at structure, and then we're looking to see if you do have an S corporation, if you're paying yourself too much in a paycheck, and that can cause you to massively overpay in taxes on a couple ways: payroll taxes, and then the 20% pass-through entity deduction that you would not get benefit from. So that's what a tax strategy session does. And then we prepare the return, and then we do another tax strategy session, because we want to make sure that what you give us, or what we tell you that should have happened in the session, actually is done throughout that process. And moving forward, based upon new knowledge, right, this year, what do we need to do moving forward in order to help you keep more of your money? So hopefully that answered that. So can I download or previous tax returns last year on Licio? You should. So we just switched to another software. We're now using Licio. So if we did your tax return last year and we were in a different management system, we may just need to add it. So you can just shoot an email to taxissues@otbtax.com, and I'll make sure you get that. So our staff will upload that so you can see it. Okay, so let's talk about some more things, some more tax deductions. So we talked about meals. We've talked about mileage or actual expenses. We've talked about travel. So one of the things that I love about travel is that, my kids work for me. So because my kids work for me, I can actually pay them to go work with me all over the country. So, especially 2019 was probably my busiest year, flying all over the world. I'm a platinum partner with Tony Robbins, so I did a lot of that. But I took my kids with me to every event, at least one of them. And what I would do is I would go a couple days before, or a couple days on the back end, and I would spend time with just them. And because I was spending more than 50% of my time while I was gone building my business, all of that became a tax deduction. So the meals, the flights, the lodging, all of that, the Ubers, all of that stuff is tax deductible. The only thing I couldn't write off would be entertainment. And a lot of times the entertainment, I would bring that back in because I am a speaker and because I am an author, I do a lot of marketing and advertising, I guess. And I guess, let me take that back. I take a lot of pictures and I post a lot of stuff on social media. So that's kind of my lifestyle. And a lot of you who are home-based business owners, that's what your focus is showing your lifestyle, showing how different your life is because you're a home-based business owner. See, I owned, for those of you that don't know this, I owned a massive accounting firm. I started I bought a small insurance agency and accounting. It wasn't accounting when I was 25 years old. And I'm 39 now. I just turned 39 last month. It was my birthday, for those of you that did not know it. January 31st, the day W-2s and 1099s have to go out, that is my birthday. So you can't ever forget it now. Worst day on earth to have a birthday if you're an accountant. So I had this small agency I bought, and I hated taxes. Hated it. I hated them. I didn't want to do taxes. I didn't want to work 100 hours a week during tax season. I saw what accountants went through with their families, and they had no family life because 4.5 months of the year, or 10 years of their 30-year career, they were working 100 hours a week, and that's not what I wanted. So I tried to do everything but, which makes me a really good tax strategist. I didn't learn this stuff by being an accountant. I learned it by trying not to be an accountant. So I've owned retail stores. I've owned wholesale companies. I've engraved jewelry. I have, so I was in insurance. So I got involved. I was the youngest district manager in the country for Aflac when I was 21 years old. And so that kind of led me down the insurance route. I became a life and health agent. Then that turned into becoming a broker after I left the companies, because insurance companies, by nature, they've got to make money, and they were screwing people, and I wasn't happy about that. So I left there and became a broker. And then I bought a little small agency, and it was about 500 clients at the time. And I was 25 years old. And in 3.5 years, I took those 500 clients to 3,500 clients. And, I wrote for 62 companies. I had a massive accounting firm that was included in that. And I ended up, I put it up for sale. I was going through a custody battle with my ex-husband. And the only thing he had on me was that I worked a lot. And so he tried to use that against me. And I ended up putting that business up for sale. And I sold it really quickly, abruptly. And the guy I sold it to stopped paying me after 4 months. And so I lost everything I owned, and plus the $900,000 deal that this agency was going to be. And I was $250,000 in debt. And that was 10 years ago. And so for 9 years, for 9 of the last 10 years, I worked from home. I built my accounting practice back up from scratch. For the longest time, I didn't want to be an accountant, because I felt like, if a client went from working with me 1 year and then they went to someone else and they could save them $100 or $200, which I could have done that easily had I been able to give them a tax strategy session and tell them what to do, but they would leave. And I never wanted to focus on money. I hated it. I really just hated, I hated being an accountant. And so and I was scared. I was scared to be successful again. I was scared that I would fail. I was scared to make the wrong decision. So for about 6.5 years, I would do taxes. I would do taxes just like a normal tax preparer would. You'd send me your tax documents. I'd prepare your tax return. We'd have a conversation. I'd save you a little bit of money, but there was not a whole lot that I could do for a prior year during tax season. That would be the only time I would talk to people. And so fortunately, my parents got me involved in a home-based business, a network marketing business. That was 6 years ago. And I started really working with new people, right? It forced me to get out of my comfort zone. It forced me to go see people, because I couldn't access the people I had because I had a non-compete. Even though the guy, obviously the guy did not pay me, it didn't matter. It would still, we would go to court. I was unemployable. No one wanted to hire me. I'd lost all of my clients, and it was crazy. It was tough. So anyway, when I got involved in this network marketing business, I was able to grow my business back, and slowly, because I didn't understand how to build an accounting practice year round. And about 3.5 years ago, I showed up to a Tony Robbins event. And I just realized that I was, being stupid. I had massive limiting beliefs. I was self-sabotaging myself. I was allowing myself to be in a state of depression because I had something going on with my personal life and one of my children. And that was really destroying me. And I got to choose. I realized you get to choose whether you are happy or sad, depending on the circumstances. The circumstances are irrelevant. It's how you handle the circumstances that matter. And so self-sabotage, I was undervaluing myself. So I was getting the wrong clients, and the clients that I had were not paying me. And that's all of that was going on. And I realized in literally 4 hours that I needed to stop all those. And I really started focusing on building my accounting practice. But it was first, I started building it back on CFO clients, which is a much faster way to go. And because I've failed in business and because I've succeeded in business, it made it very easy for me to step into a role of a CFO, chief financial officer, on a virtual basis, that I could still work from home. I could have a handful of clients, and I could make a lot of money doing that. And I did. And about I guess it's been 2.5 years ago now, like I was, up to a point where I was doing really, really good. I had about 12 CFO clients, and my largest one was paying me $5,000 a month to work about, 5-10 hours a month for them. And I heard some statistics, and I'll share those with you, and why I'm on this path and this journey to teach you how to free up money. And I know I go off on tangents, so I apologize, but I think it's important for me to just share like exactly what's from my heart. And I do that all the time. So August 2018, I was driving down the road on my way to Tampa, Florida. I'd actually made a decision because my accounting practice was up and going really, really well. And me and my husband had a conversation that when I got to a point where I was doing a certain level of income a month and my business could sustain itself, that I could start back at being involved in network marketing, because I loved it. I really loved it. And so I was on my way to Tampa, Florida to meet the owner of a network marketing company, and I was going to start doing that part-time. And it was connected, what they were doing was very connected to what my business was doing, so I could build it kind of along the same lines. And I stopped. I actually turned around and came back home. And the reason why is Grant Cardone, there was a webinar that I watched, and this is all continuing education. This is why it's important for you to spend money in continuing education. So I spent $47 on a webinar, and that webinar, Grant has a 5-year accounting degree as well. He obviously he does use it, but he doesn't use it in the same respect as I do. And so he said that the average household income in America is $60,000 a year. And I'd be willing to say that's less now than it was. And the reason why is 40% of Americans making under $40,000 a year lost their jobs last year. So let's just go with the average household income in America is $60,000 a year. They pay $14,000 in taxes. So that means that their major expense is taxes, and what's left over is their cost of living, right? So we have a take home of $46,000, and then from there you've got a cost of living. Well, the average cost of living in America is $53,000 a year. If you live here in Greenville, it's $63,000 a year. If you live in Atlanta, it's $73,000 a year. I think it's $90-some thousand a year if you live in California. So I want you to understand that. So now we bring home $46,000. We have a cost of living of $53,000. So we're going in debt $7,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, take 2 weeks paid vacation. So you may say, I'm not a W-2 employee. That's fine. Your friends are, your family is. So it's your responsibility, because I'm giving you this information. I'm feeding it to you. It's like people, with everything going on with our country right now, the truth, right? I'm feeding the information to you. It is your job to go and share that information with everyone else, right? So I've done the hard work. The only thing you have to do is either share my video or give somebody the information. Now, they won't typically listen to you unless you are an accountant, or unless you are, someone that they trust or believe. Sadly enough, when I was in the network marketing space or home-based business space, and I tried to tell people that there was massive tax deductions by having a home-based business, they didn't listen to me because they thought I was trying to sell them on something. When I stepped right back out and became an accountant, and it's like, look, I don't care what you do. You just need to do something. You need to find something. Then I became an advocate for them. And that's exactly what I am today, is I'm an advocate for the home-based business industry. For the last 9 years, for 9 of the last 10 years, I worked from home, and I was with my family every day. I homeschooled my kids for the last 7 years now. They've been homeschooled. And we have one who just went to college, to Clemson University this year, and super sad and happy about that at the same time. But I want you to understand how big of a deal it is to be a business owner. And how big of a deal it is to be a home-based business owner, because there's not a day that goes by that I don't want to come back home and work. But now I have employees, I have a 6,000 square foot office, I have, all of these responsibilities, and I have to make sure they're doing their job. So for those of you that knock home-based business, I want you to understand you just have no comprehension of what you're saying. And there is nothing better than to be able to be at home or be on a beach or be in Las Vegas or be wherever you want to be when you want to be and still continue to make money. There's nothing better than that. What I've done a really good job of is that I don't need to be in network marketing in order to do that. I now have book sales. I have a membership. I have an entire accounting practice that works with or without me. Obviously, I'm still heavily involved in it every single day. I work every single day, probably 14, 16, 18 hours a day, depending on the time of the year. But I want you to understand that if you can find a way to make some income on a part-time basis and build that up to a point that you have a full-time income and can walk away from what you're doing as a W-2 employee, hands down, you would be so much better off. If I can give you any piece of advice, I had a couple that came to my office that a couple years ago. It was actually in my house at the time. And they came to my office and they wanted to know, they'd just gotten a pay increase and it was in the middle of tax season. And they wanted to know how much money it was going to cost them in taxes and how much they should set aside for that. So the husband, he made 85 grand a year. The wife made 55 grand a year. That was a total difference of, $35,000 is what they got in a pay increase. And so we determined that $140,000 they made, right? We determined that they were going to get, of that $35,000 pay increase, $13,000 of that money. It was going to cost them $22,000 in taxes. Okay? Absurd. And while they were there, I said, you know what? Let me run some numbers. And what if one of you just stayed at home? How much money would you need in a home-based business in order for one of you to stay at home? So first step, we took away the $55,000 a year that the wife was making. We kept the $85,000 only because it was higher amount of money. And that $85,000, getting rid of the $55,000, we determined that she was only receiving $1,800 a month. $21,000 a year on her $55,000 a year paycheck. So let's break that down. So if I make $1,800 a month, that's what she was clearing, okay? Because it was pushing them to be in a higher tax bracket, and now she's paying taxes on that money. So if I take away meals every day, if I take away gas, if I take away wear and tear on vehicles, if I take away the clothing that you have to buy to go to work every single day, if I take away daycare, all these things, there was no money left over. So I told them, you would be better off finding a way to make $1,000 a month doing anything. I don't care what it is, anything. In some sort of business, attempting to earn an income. And now what happens is that $1,000 a month, you have at least $25,000 in expenses. And for those of you, if you go to that link tree, you'll find a deduction spreadsheet that I created. It took me about 16 years to finally create one, but it has deductions on things that you can write off by having a home-based business. So if she made $1,000 a month, she's got about $25,000 in meals, mileage, cell phone, internet, business use of home, travel, all these things that we can now write off as a tax deduction to offset against the income that she makes. Now we have a loss on paper. Okay. So people tell me all the time, my wife is losing money in this business. No, your wife is not. Your wife is being smart. She's actually not paying taxes on her money, but she's spending the same amount of money because she was going to spend this money anyway. Meals, mileage, cell phone, telephone, all that good stuff. She was going to internet, all these things that you're already spending money on anyway. It's just now you get the benefit of writing them off on your taxes. So we would show a loss on paper that would offset against his $85,000 that he made, because you can offset your losses with any income. And so from there, they're actually bringing home more money. Do you understand? So she can make $1,000 a month working from home in her spare time, doing anything for $250 a week. Anything. I mean, you can make $250 a week if you give it some time and effort and energy. You can attempt to make $250 a week without a shadow of a doubt. You can do it. You can make $1,000 a week. It's just learning the skills and going out and sharing information, right? And now to me, it's easier to share information on social media than it is any other time in the world, because that is the only way to access people right now, unless you live in the great state of South Carolina or the great state of Florida and you can actually see people. So, I mean, we've never shut down, right? So I've given you that. Now, a couple other deductions. We've got travel. Travel's huge. So travel can be, just like I talked about, taking your family with you to events, going to continuing education events, which are so crucial. Changed everything for me. Guys, I'll tell you, in 2016, 2013, before network marketing, I made $9,000 that year in accounting. And we have a multi-million-dollar accounting practice now. So there's a big difference, and it took time. You know, it took time to get to the place that we're at today. And we are so blessed, but it's also putting in the work. If you're willing to put in the work and continue to stay consistent, then it will continue to pay you, but you have to put in the work. So for those of you that don't understand or don't believe that home-based business or network marketing, that, you know, you could ever create a massive income with that, guys, I have clients who make $2 million a month. All they do is run their mouth. Like, I mean, they go talk to people, they educate people, they're helping people. That's what the network marketing industry is all about. And no, I'm not in it at all whatsoever. I can't be in it because I speak for people that are in the network marketing industry. But I want you to understand, like, there's a big difference than going to work and hating what you do every single day, and going to work and opening your mouth and trying to help people save money in taxes, because that's what you're doing. You're helping people save money in taxes. You're giving them a product or a service at wholesale versus retail. And then on top of that, you're helping them make an income. And if you can do those three things, that's the only things that you're doing in network marketing. That's it. And people tell me all the time, it's like a scam. What part of a scam do you understand? Because all they're doing is helping people save money in taxes to the tune of $4,000 to $8,000 a year, because that is what I can guarantee someone is going to save if you're paying taxes, right? If you're more than a 10% tax bracket, you're paying taxes, you're going to save between $4,000 and $8,000 a year, depending on the tax bracket that you're in, just by attempting to earn income in some sort of home-based business. That could change a family's life forever. You hear me? Forever. Because if they're constantly going in debt, $7,000 a year to work, and you can transform that and put them in a position that not only could they make some extra money, but they're also saving $4,000 to $8,000 a year, you have changed someone's life. Plus, you're giving them a product at wholesale versus retail. And let's face it, I am so sick and tired of Amazon and Walmart and Target taking all the money from everyone. Go work with someone who has a home-based business, who has a network marketing business, who has a family to provide for, who is doing what's right by people instead of hurting people. So that's my advice on that. So travel's big. Hiring your kids is another way to save a ton of money in taxes. And I'm not telling you that you can just pay them, just give them money. You have to hire them to do stuff for you. So what my children do for me is that I have children that go with me to events, which is huge. And it gives me such a level of connection with them that I wouldn't typically have, because I have 6 children. So it's very hard to have one-on-one, be one-on-one with them if we're all together all the time. So there's that. Then they could help make calls for you. They could help you on social media. They could help you with advertising. They could help you create flyers. Like anything that you could get them to do, you could hire them for that, for whatever you would pay someone else to do. They could clean your house, for that matter. So by doing that, you're now pushing off, it's called income shifting. You're pushing income off of you and you're pushing it on to your children. And so the great part about that is that if they're under 18, they don't have to pay taxes at all on the first $12,400 a year, meaning that, You don't have to pay taxes on it because it's a tax deduction. It's a business expense for you. And no, you can't go backwards to last year. If you have not moved money into an account for them, you can't go backwards and do so. But that's a good idea for this year, is that you can put money into their account every month. You do it at the end of the year if you want to, but you could push $12,400 off to them, pay them to work for you, pay them a reasonable wage that you would pay anyone else to do the work, like photography would be a good one, videography. And now you don't have to pay tax on that because it's a business expense, it's a payroll expense for you. And then they're not paying tax on the first $12,400 because of the standard deduction. And if you have kids that are over 20, a good thing for them is you can actually, if they're in college, you can not only pay them to work for you, but you can also push off $5,250 a year for their education. So for those of you like me, and for instance, my daughter owns part of our company. I gave her, when she turned 17, I gave her 10% of our company. And so now she is going to school to be an accountant. Well, because she is going to school to be an accountant and that is growing our business, then now that is considered continuing education. So I'm sending her to school to get that certification, or to get, not certification, but to get the education, the degree was what she wants. But that will ultimately help our business. So I want you to understand how that all works so that you can hire your kids. Another thing that's, just most people, business use of home, that's typically a $3,000 to $5,000 a year tax deduction for you. So business use of home could be a portion of utilities, your repairs and maintenance, your insurance, your property taxes, your interest, mortgage interest, and you can depreciate a portion of the house. So all of that is a tax deduction. You may say, well, Courtney, nope, I was told that would cause me to be audited. You were lied to. Plain and simple. Guys, I was taught all this same information. I was taught that business use of home would cause you to be audited too in college by government employees who wanted to make sure that we didn't save money in taxes, okay? So I was taught that stuff, but then I lived it. And I lived it and did I've done thousands and thousands of tax returns. We do about 3,500 tax returns a year, every year. So now I know the truth. I've never had a client audited for business use of home, ever, in 19 years. So it just doesn't happen. It's not what triggers an audit. Now, the first thing an auditor is going to say, oh, we audited you for travel and for auto and for blah, blah, blah. One, they tell you that because they don't want you to claim as much of those expenses in the next years, okay? So it's just, you got to wake up and realize that their goal is to keep your money. Your goal is to keep your money, okay? You're battling against each other. You just have to know the rules, okay? And I will tell you this, an auditor doesn't even have any experience, meaning that an auditor could be your auditor and never have gone to school and taken one class in accounting. Now, a revenue officer, they're different. They have to have a 4-year degree in accounting. But I want you to be very aware that an auditor comes in and that's the first step in the IRS. You become an auditor. They don't know tax law. And most CPAs don't know tax law either. They just know enough to put some numbers onto a tax return. Okay. Can you pay them if you're not an LLC or S Corp? Yes, so let me be very clear. You can pay your children regardless of what you are, sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp. You should pay them through either a sole proprietorship or an LLC that is not being treated as an S corporation, because you have to pay FICA taxes on them if you pay them through an S Corp. So you're better off to pay. I have a separate entity that I pay my children through called Home-Based Business Gurus. And so that separate entity management fees come from my company, and they push off and go to this entity, and that entity is just a LLC, and that LLC pays the children. Okay, so hopefully that helps. The other thing is I want to talk about talking about meals, mileage, cell phone, internet, business use of home. Oh, internet is another one. And so internet is you've got to have internet in order to run your company. Sorry, guys. One of my children woke up, so you're good. You're good. So you've got to have internet in order to run your company. So that's the tax deduction for you. Depending on how much of it you use, if you're working from home, how much of it's being used for business purposes, then I would write that off. If you think 70%, 80%, 90%, if you say 100%, it just depends on how much you're using for business purposes. Obviously, the more that you are pushing towards building your business, the more tax deductions you get. That's why it's so cool. It's like, the guarantee is tax savings, and then you might make some money. So why don't you go after the tax savings first and then start making money? All right. So next up, we all should have multiple rivers of revenue. I don't say streams, but that is a limiting mindset. I love that. Yes, rivers of revenue. Summer, that's really cool. Can that work for grandchildren? Yes, it can. Operating out of fear will keep you there. Yes. How do I educate my tax person? What can be written off? You don't educate tax people. They think they know more than you do. You just hire someone who actually knows what they're doing. So you can hire us. I'm not telling you to hire us, but you can't educate someone who thinks that they know what they're doing. It's waste. You just need to find someone who understands the network marketing industry, who believes in the network marketing industry, who's willing to help you if in the event of an audit, and who has your back. Like that's it. So, and if you can't find one of those people, they're very hard to find because most people don't understand the network marketing industry. I do, because I'm not in network marketing, but I was a home-based business owner for 9 years. I was in network marketing. I built a business for 3.5 years in network marketing. I've made it to the top 1% in 2 different companies. And so I understand how hard it is. I understand how lucrative it is. I understand what it takes. I mean, I've spent, 10, 12 hours a day at a Starbucks or a Atlanta bread company growing a business, doing presentation hour after hour. So I get it. Like, I've been you and I understand it. And accountants typically they sit in a cubicle and they do bookkeeping, and then they get pushed into tax preparation. And then one day they decide, you know what, I think I can go out on my own and do this on my own. So they go from being a W-2 employee for someone else for years and years, and then they go and they start working and owning their own practice and thinking that they're actually doing what's in the best interest of their client when they have no knowledge of that. So that's what you just have to understand. So yes, could you go over cost to hire you guys? So we're very simple. Everything is the same price for every single person, depending on what you have with us. So if you have a corporate tax return, we charge $15.50 for a corporate tax return. That includes the tax strategy session and audit protection. A personal tax return that goes along with that is $350. Okay. So those two, that's if you have a corporate return. Now, why would you need a corporate return? If you have an LLC and you make more than $12,000 a year in net income, you're going to be better off. It's going to save you more money, even over the expenses that you pay us to prepare the return. And you're less likely to be audited if you have a corporate return as opposed to a personal tax return. If we do a personal tax return with a business, it includes audit protection. It includes a tax strategy session on the back end as well. So when we finish the tax return, we do a tax strategy session again. Because we want to tell you what to do this year moving forward. And we want to make sure we found as much as we can possibly going for 2020. We charge $650. So a $650 is a personal tax return of the business. We don't care what you have. You can have rental properties. You can have Schedule C income. You can have a farm. Per your husband. We don't charge for schedules. That's our price, right? If we just we have clients that they're just W-2 employees. They have some other income like dividend, interest, stuff like that. They're very minimal. We don't have a whole lot of those. Those are $350. So there's our prices. I have an MLM, but I'm wanting to open another income stream or two. Would I need separate accounts for each? Would I need to separate each business for taxes, or could I consolidate them? It depends. If it has to do with sales, I would probably keep them all together. And if it has if you can correlate the industries together, if they work in the same industry, like let's say I had a nutrition industry and I was doing hair care, right? Those would be fine altogether. So they all have to do with sales. But if you had real estate and you had a network marketing business, those should be separate. Okay. If you had a hair salon and you were doing hair care products and other nutritional supplements, sure, those could all work together because that's still considered retail. All right. Okay, so we've talked about continuing education. We've talked about travel. We've talked about meals. We've talked about mileage. We've talked about business use of home. We've talked about internet. We've talked about cell phone. So cell phone, same thing. You got to have a cell phone in order to run a business. Office supplies. Typically I'm at my office and I have my entire office set up. It's nothing but a studio. I have another office outside with all my staff that I work with. I just don't like being lonely. So my husband has created this amazing office that I could go in, and it has my camera in front of me. It has my lights set up, and then I can literally plug in my computer and I can go to town on a presentation or a speaking engagement, and I'm ready. So all of those things are tax deductible. My laptop, right? An iPad. So I've got to buy an iPad in order to do Clubhouse, right? So I want to get on Clubhouse. The only way I can do that is on an Apple product. So now I need to buy an iPad that I would not have ever bought for any reason in order for me to get on Clubhouse, right? So that is a tax deduction for me. So when you understand, like, this is all of these things, like, you can save so much money in taxes just by attempting to earn an income in some sort of home-based business. So now, like, going forward, so I'm going to start back doing my interviews. So this is just letting you guys know I was doing them every single day, and we're going to do them again. So I had a concussion the entire month of January, so I was out of work. And then around the middle of January, they took my ability to do a live for 30 days. So I couldn't start back doing lives until the 18th. And then somehow there was a 2 authentication thing that I had to do, and I could not get on Facebook for 2 solid days. So freaking out, because this is where I teach, right? This is where I educate. So we're going to start doing those every single day. Again, we're going to do those interviews, and we're going to show you real people in the network marketing industry or the home-based business industry that are, it doesn't matter if they're making a lot of money, they're making a little bit of money. It's what their experiences are and what they see. So it's my What's Your Plan B interview. So we're going to start doing that. And I'm going to start doing a weekly session, a tax training with you guys, so I can help you understand. So these are, this is not necessarily to get you as a client. If you want to be our client, schedule a tax strategy session and be our client, or send us an email and say, hey, this is what I need. We typically, the reason why we do the tax strategy sessions are because we want to know that you're set up properly. So should we take your LLC and treat it as an S corporation? Do you need to get an LLC right now? Do you need, what do you need? And what are you missing? Right? So that's what the purpose of a tax strategy session is. And it's $99 for 30 minutes. Right? So that's one step. If you don't want to start there, you just have to email us and say, hey, this is what I want. I'm a personal tax return with a business. I'm a corporate and a personal, and we'll invoice you. And then we can start working on that. And then we'll do that tax strategy session on the back end that is included in the tax return. But as far as I want to get this information out. We have to let people know how to keep more money. Things are not, things have massively changed in the last year. National debt per citizen in America has gone from $67,000 to $82,000 in 1 year, right? So that's crucial. People are losing their jobs left and right. I think 851,000 people filed for unemployment the first time last week. So it's very important to help people start saving more of their money now, right? So, and keeping more of their money, but then also creating another income stream. So I want you to understand that we've got to help people do those things. And so, yes, contributions can be a tax deduction summer. Typically 96% of Americans get no benefit from charitable contributions. But if you give from a gross income level instead of a net income level, then here's the thing. If you give from a gross income level instead of a net income level, meaning that and I'll give you for instance, every dollar that comes in my accounting practice, we provide a serving of advanced immune support to children in need that are medically fragile or malnourished. Okay. So every day of my life, we provide about 14,000 servings of nutrition to children. That is the purpose, and that is why I continue to build our accounting practice. So that is why we continue to take on clients. That is why we continue to build, because it's my goal and my purpose in life. My mission is for this year, by the end of the year, to be able to provide advanced immune support to 50,000 children a day, every day. So we're at 14 now. We got a long way to go. Okay. So what I do is, because of the way that I give for every dollar, I give a serving. Because of the way that I give, that forces it to become 100% tax deduction as a business expense. And here's why that's important. One, if it were a personal expense and flowed to the Schedule A itemized deductions and charitable contributions, I don't get to write off as much of I don't get as much of a deduction. I'm also not getting the benefit on the first $24,000 because I'm already getting a standard deduction regardless if I had expenses or not. So if you give, and I'm limited to giving more than 50% of my net income, or 50% of my adjusted gross income is all that you can give to charitable contributions. So if you give from a gross income level, then that becomes 100% tax deduction as a business expense. And by doing that, okay, that's massive. You can change the world by doing that. So we give 7% off the top to manorelief.org, which is the nonprofit that we provide advanced immune support for. The only nonprofit, let me be clear, the only nonprofit in the world that provides whole food, plant-based nutrition to children and non-synthetics. Okay. So we're giving advanced immune support to children. Every other nonprofit, it is required by the WHO for any ready-to-use therapeutic food that it has to have synthetic vitamins in it. I'm not even going into detail on because that'll get me kicked off of Facebook yet again. But every other nonprofit provides synthetic vitamins and vaccines to children. And hopefully you all know by now what synthetic anything will do to a body, especially a malnourished or medically fragile child. The other thing that we do is we provide safe drinking water to children, or to people for that matter. It costs $4.58 to provide safe water for a person for a lifetime. Okay, so that's another thing that we do. So for every $150 that we bring in, we provide water to a person. Okay, for a lifetime. And then we also, for every $25,000 we bring in, we free a child from sex trafficking through Operation Underground Railroad. And for those of you that don't know about Operation Underground Railroad, you should know about them. You should know what they're doing. They're going underground and literally getting children out. And last year on Tony Robbins' birthday is when we started giving. We raised $18 million in 45 minutes at Tony Robbins' birthday, February 29th last year, and started this process of pulling kids out. So that's all I'm going to say on that one, because that'll get me kicked off as well. So what I want you to understand is that, one, there's lots of ways to save money in taxes. Two, there's lots of fun things that you can do when you start combining your passion and your profit together. Man, not only can you change the world, but it becomes a requirement, a necessity every day to go out and share with people what you're doing and how you're doing it. And when you realize that what you're doing every single day, you are truly changing people's lives. It no longer matters whether they sign up or not, whether they buy your product or not. It just matters that you're educating them and giving them the information. And fortunately, if you do your business that way, if you run it as if it doesn't matter whether they join you or not, more people will join you because they feel like you're genuine. Like, I don't have to ask you to be my client. I don't ever have to post an advertisement or sell you on why you need to be my client. I can just run my mouth enough so you know that I know what I'm talking about, and you know that I care more about you than I care about your money. And I care more about people and what I can do for people than I do about their money. And when you live your life like that, everything opens up. The whole world expands for you. You help enough people get exactly what they want, you automatically get what you want. So that's what I urge you to do today. Like, spend the day figuring out who it is that you can help and go share with them a way that they could not only save more money in taxes, $4,000 to $8,000 a year, make an extra, let's say $500 a month, and then buy a product at wholesale or retail, at wholesale versus retail that they were going to already buy anyway. That's all you're doing, okay? And that people need to understand that. It is the greatest business model on the planet because it's the only thing that a W-2 employee can do on a part-time basis with a turnkey operation for a couple $100 and change their life forever. Guys, I've had clients make $1 million in their first year in network marketing. I've had clients make zero for 3 years. The only difference is the ones who go out and do it believe that they can, and the ones who don't. I mean, that's it. Like, you may not have the skills to start off with, but you can learn them. You know, I remember the first time I did a live, this a couple of years ago, like I was scared to death. Like, I talk to people all day long, but it's so weird to just sit here and talk in front of a camera and not have anybody to talk to. So, you know, I urge you to just go share information based upon helping someone else save money in taxes, make some extra money, and buy a product at wholesale versus retail. And if they tell you no, or they tell you you're stupid, tell them they obviously don't understand. They don't understand the fact that they can save $4,000 to $8,000 a year too in taxes. And that was the only thing that you were trying to help them do. And if they don't agree with that and they don't believe in that, then that's cool. But you gave them that education. It's just like me trying to speak the truth, which I am doing right now and getting attacked somewhat by it, but also bringing a whole new world of people with everything that's going on in this world. Like, people are seeking truth, and you can be that person to share that truth. It doesn't matter how much they attack. It doesn't matter how much you get filtered. It doesn't matter how much they stop you from speaking on Facebook. I'm willing to accept and to lose everything I got on Facebook in order to speak the truth. And when you focus on that, when you're focused on the truth, one, it'll set you free. I mean, obviously, we all know that. But two, it puts you in a different realm. It puts you in a place where people trust you no matter what. You're willing to stand up for what's right no matter what. And that's where I'm at today. So, you know, I hope this helps you. I hope this helps. I hope this helps you save some money in taxes. One, if you want to hire us, click on the link tree, book a tax strategy session, reach out. There's access to me, you know, everywhere you can find me. If Facebook shuts me down again, you'll still be able to access us. You know, obviously I have a website, otbtax.com is my company website, but I have a really, really good, I would probably tell you that if you're looking to share information with someone, I have a really good TEDx that I did back in November. And if you'll just type in Courtney Epps TEDx, you should be able to find it. But it's also on this link. If you just click on that link, I think it's the very first link. So just share that with people and have them wake up, because that just gives them in a nutshell why they need to have a home-based business, why they're spending so much money in taxes, and how to fix it. And it gives them some ideas on some things that they can do to save money. So I hope that this helps you guys. I will share, I'll repost this. It's in all of my groups, but I'm also going to download it into a YouTube so you guys can share it with anyone you want to. I hope it gave you some insight. I know I ran a little bit longer, as always, that I wanted to. And I'm going to be doing around, it's 10:20 now. At 11 o'clock today, I'm going to be doing I can't do a live. I will post a Zoom link, and I'm going to be sharing some content and insight on what's going on with our country. So because I think that's just as important right now, that we give people hope and help them understand that everything's going to be good. We're all fine, right? And moving forward, it's all going to be great. So I want to give you some insight on what I know about that. So I'll be doing that at 11 o'clock today, Eastern. And I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day. Talk to you soon. Bye.